Most riders love their bikes. They polish them, talk to them, tuck them in at night like some kind of mechanical pet. And yet, they still slowly kill them without realizing it. Not because they don't care, but because nobody told them. Or worse, they heard the wrong advice from some forum bro who hasn't touched a torque wrench in his life. This isn't about the obvious stuff. If you're over-revving a cold engine or skipping oil changes, you don't need a video, you need a bus pass. We're going deeper, into the weird habits, lazy shortcuts, and everybody does it moments that quietly destroy your bike from the inside out. So grab a notepad, or better yet, just stop doing this crap. Let's save your motorcycle before you ride it into an early grave. Number 1. Running low on fuel. It's not just about range. Most riders think the only risk of running low on fuel is, well, running out. But there's a much nastier consequence hiding in your tank, and it's wearing out your fuel system every time you ride on fumes. See, your fuel pump isn't just a pump. It's also cooled and lubricated by the gas it sits in. When you consistently ride with the tank near empty, that pump runs hotter, wears faster, and is more likely to fail, especially on modern bikes where replacements aren't cheap or easy. But that's not the only issue. The bottom of your tank is where all the junk settles. Sediment, rust flakes, water, even microscopic debris. When you're low on fuel, your pump starts sucking up that bottom sludge like a milkshake. Over time, that gunk clogs filters, fouls injectors or jets, and causes weird performance issues you can't trace. Even worse, if your bike sits a lot, the ethanol in modern gas attracts moisture. That settles at the bottom. So when you finally take it out for a ride with low fuel, you're blasting your engine with the worst cocktail imaginable. Don't wait for the low fuel light to come on. Treat the last quarter tank like an emergency reserve. Top it off regularly, especially on bikes with small tanks or if you're running older components. Because a toasted fuel pump or a clogged injector isn't just inconvenient, it's avoidable. Number 2. Power washing the wrong way. There's nothing like seeing your bike sparkling clean, but if you're using a pressure washer like it's a magic wand, congratulations, you might be slowly destroying your motorcycle. High pressure water is great for blasting mud off a dirt bike, but on a street bike, it's a silent killer. Bearings, switches, seals, connectors, none of them were designed to take a jet of water at 2,000 psi. That spray gets forced into places it should never reach, washing out grease, corroding metal, and shorting out electronics. I've seen guys wreck perfectly good bikes in one afternoon with a pressure washer and no clue. Afterwards, they're scratching their heads wondering why the speedo flickers, why the bike won't idle right, and why the headlight only works on Tuesdays when it's humid. Spoiler, it's your cleaning job that flooded your wiring harness. Even if it doesn't fail immediately, water that gets into wheel bearings or pivots can displace grease and lead to premature wear. Add a little time, a little heat, and boom, your perfectly clean bike is now perfectly seized. Want to clean your bike properly? Use a hose with gentle pressure. Degrease carefully and avoid spraying directly into switches, chain links, radiator fins, or anywhere you wouldn't pour a glass of water. Wipe it down by hand. Dry it off properly. Clean is good. Destroyed electronics and pitted bearings? Not so much. Number 3. Over-tightening bolts. You're not Hercules. If you ever snapped a bolt off in your frame or crushed a washer like a soda can, congrats! You've joined the club of riders who think tight means as tight as humanly possible. Over-tightening is one of the fastest ways to damage your motorcycle, and it's more common than you think. Axle pinch bolts, triple clamp bolts, drain plugs, handlebar risers, you name it. The metal's only so strong, and the threads are only meant to hold so much. Crank past the spec, and you're not being thorough, you're destroying things. And here's a catch. It doesn't always fail right away. Sometimes the damage builds up over time. You'll go to do maintenance 6 months later and realize your drain bolt threads are stripped or your fork pinch bolts cracked your lower triple. Now you're looking at helicoils, new castings, or a tow truck. Even worse, on high-stress parts like the front axle or brake calipers, over-tightening can lead to stress fractures and unpredictable failures. I've seen it happen. Use a torque wrench, learn to torque specs, or at the very least, understand that a fastener isn't a test of your strength. It's a piece of precision hardware. Snug is good. White knuckle and pray it doesn't shear is not. Because one bad bolt can turn your ride into a repair job, and that's a lesson you don't want to learn the hard way. Number 4. Ignoring chain alignment. It's killing your sprockets. Most riders think adjusting a chain is just about getting the slack right. They'll eyeball it, maybe bounce the suspension a few times and call it a day. But if your rear wheel isn't perfectly aligned with the front, you're slowly murdering your chain and sprockets, and you might not even realize it. Misalignment creates uneven wear. One side of the sprocket teeth start grinding harder than the other. Your chain rollers don't seat cleanly. Over time, you'll get premature stretch, loud clunking noises, and uneven tooth wear that'll destroy a perfectly good set of components long before their time. And it doesn't stop there. Bad alignment can mess with your handling too. It introduces weird tension across the swing arm and rear axle, and can even cause the bike to feel twitchy or pull to one side under acceleration. Here's the thing. Those little hash marks on your swing arm, they're a joke. If you're relying on them to align your wheel, you might as well be using a sundial to set your ignition timing. You need a proper chain alignment tool, a laser, or at least a solid straight edge method to get it right. Neglecting chain alignment doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you a soon-to-be frustrated rider with a wallet full of receipts for parts you didn't need to replace yet. Number 5. Letting old brake fluid sit for years. Brake fluid isn't wine. It doesn't get better with age. In fact, it's hygroscopic, which means it absorbs moisture from the air over time, even through your supposedly sealed system. That moisture lowers the boiling point of the fluid and turns your once crisp brakes into mushy, unpredictable nightmares when they get hot. And here's the kicker. You won't even notice the problem during casual riding. It's only when you're coming down a mountain pass, doing emergency stops, or riding hard on a hot day that you'll feel it. Your lever goes soft, your brakes fade out, and you realize too late that you got steam in the lines instead of hydraulic pressure. Old fluid also corrodes internal brake components. Caliper pistons, master cylinder seals, ABS pumps, all of them start to suffer once water gets in. And unlike pads or rotors, you can't see the damage happening until it's already expensive. It takes 15 minutes to bleed your brakes? Do it every 1 to 2 years and you'll avoid the kind of terrifying uh-oh moments that make you consider converting to scooters. Fresh brake fluid isn't sexy, but it's what separates a functional braking system from a gamble. Ignore it long enough and one day your front lever will feel like squeezing a sponge, and that's a bad time to learn a lesson. Number 6. Using the wrong type of coolant. Yes, it matters. Coolant is coolant, right? Green stuff goes in, engine stays cool, job done. Except that's how you end up with corroded passages, plugged radiators, and mystery overheating issues that seem to come out of nowhere. Not all coolants are the same. There are big differences between silicate-based, phosphate-free, oat, you name it. And motorcycle engines aren't car engines. They've got different metallurgy, tighter tolerances, and smaller cooling system. Some coolants are too aggressive. Others don't protect aluminum properly. And mixing the wrong types, that's a chemical mess waiting to happen. This stuff isn't just marketing. If you got a bike with a magnesium or aluminum head, you need the right inhibitors in that fluid or you're setting yourself up for internal corrosion. And don't even think about topping off with tap water. Minerals in regular water build up scale and ruin your system over time. So, what's the right move? Read the damn manual. Use motorcycle-specific coolant if your OEM calls for it, distilled water if you're diluting, and flush it every couple of years, not every couple of decades. This is one of those invisible killers. You won't notice the damage until your fan runs nonstop and your bike starts pushing coolant at every red light. By then, it's too late. Number 7. Storing your bike with the clutch pulled in. Some people think it's smart to store a bike with a bungee cord or zip tie holding the clutch lever in. Maybe to prevent the plates from sticking or relieve pressure on the system. Sounds harmless, right? Until you come back months later and realize your clutch feel is shot, or worse, your hydraulics are toast. If you leave your clutch pulled in for extended periods, especially on hydraulic systems, you're keeping the entire clutch actuation system under tension. That means constant pressure on seals, slave cylinders, and master internals that were never meant to be stressed like that for weeks or months on end. And if you got a cable clutch, you're unnecessarily stretching that cable and keeping the springs compressed the whole time. Worried about clutch plates sticking together during storage? Just start the bike and rock it a little before your first ride. It'll break loose naturally. But leaving that lever pulled in all winter? That's a recipe for fluid leaks, sticky behavior, or a master cylinder rebuild you didn't plan on. Clutch systems like to rest. Give them some slack. Literally. Your future self will thank you when you don't have to bleed the system or replace a seal because of some internet myth. Number 8. Mixing old and new brake pads. Stop doing this. Here's one you almost never hear about, but it can quietly ruin your braking performance and eat through components faster than you think. Some riders try to save a quick buck or get lazy during a quick brake job and end up mixing new pads with old ones, especially if they're just doing one caliper or only changing the most worn pad. Sounds efficient, right? It's not. Brake pads wear as a set for a reason. They bed into the rotor together, develop a matched surface profile, and transfer a layer of material that's consistent across both sides. Toss a brand new pad next to a half-used one? You've just guaranteed uneven pressure, unpredictable bite, and uneven heat buildup. That rotor's gonna wear weird, your braking feel's gonna be off, and worst case, you get pulsing, grabbing, or even glazing. Even mixing two new pads from different brands or compounds can cause issues. Brakes are one of the most critical systems on the bike. Don't Frankenstein your setup like you're trying to finish a school project with leftovers. It's not worth the risk. Replace pads as a matched set, always. Clean the rotors, bed them in properly, and keep your braking predictable, powerful, and safe. It's not just about saving your rotors. It's about not ending up in the back of a minivan. Number 9. Ignoring wheel spoke tension until something snaps. If you ride anything with spoked wheels, ADV, dual sport, scrambler, or even some retro-styled standards, you need to listen up. Because ignoring spoke tension is like playing Jenga with your rims. Everything looks fine until it isn't. Most riders think of spokes as a set-it-and-forget-it part of the bike, but over time, they loosen. Maybe not all at once, just a few here, a few there, hit enough potholes, land a few jumps, or just ride with bags strapped on the back, and those uneven loads start shifting everything. Before you know it, your wheel is out of true, your tire wears unevenly, and worst case, you crack a rim or break a spoke entirely. Now you got a ticking time bomb under you. The fix is easy, but most people never do it. Check spoke tension regularly, especially on bikes that see rough roads. A cheap spoke wrench and 5 minutes of your time can save you $1,000 wheel repair or a crash. Hell, even plucking them like guitar strings can help. Tight spokes ping, loose ones thunk. If one spoke's super loose, chances are others are too. And if a spoke snaps while you're leaning into a corner at 80 miles an hour, that's not something you walk away from grinning. Don't wait for the wobble. Check your spokes before they check you. Number 10. Lubing your chain after the ride. You're wasting it. Here's one most people get backward. They come back from a ride, park the bike, and right before heading inside, they spray a little lube on the chain thinking, "Hey, I'm doing the maintenance, gold star for me." Nope, that's not the time to do it. That's the time not to do it. Chain lube needs time to set. It needs a warm chain to penetrate properly, and it needs a few minutes to sling off the excess before it starts collecting every speck of dirt like a rolling fly trap. But when you lube your chain after a ride, on a hot chain, you're basically cooking off the solvents before they can do their job. It evaporates too quickly, doesn't get into the rollers, and just ends up flinging lube all over your wheel next time you ride. That's wasted product, wasted effort, and usually a rear wheel that looks like you rode through a grease fight. The smart move? Lube it right before you ride. That way the chain's cool, the lube can soak in, and your next ride distributes it evenly while shedding the excess naturally. Plus, you're way less likely to forget, because if your chain is squeaking right as you're putting your helmet on, that's a pretty good reminder. It's not just about if you lube, it's when, and most people get it wrong. Number 11. Leaving the bike in first gear during long-term storage. This one sounds harmless, smart even. You park the bike in your garage for the winter and you click it down into first gear so it won't roll away. Logical, right? Except, not really. When a bike sits for months with the gearbox engaged, especially in older or high-mileage transmissions, you're putting constant pressure on the shift dogs and gear teeth. It's not enough to cause immediate damage, but over time, that static load, especially when paired with temperature swings and condensation, can lead to pitting on the gear faces, binding issues in the shift forks, or even weakened detents. You're also asking for clutch drag issues when you go to start it in the spring. Ever fired up a bike in gear with a sticky clutch after a long sit? It jumps like a spooked horse. That's how garages turn into accident scenes. And here's the real kicker. If your bike's stored properly, on a stand or with the tires chocked, it's not going anywhere, even if it was in neutral. And if you're worried about parking on a slope or street, use a rear stand or block the wheels. First gear should never be your long-term parking brake. Letting your transmission sit under tension for months on end? That's just asking for problems. Neutral exists for a reason. Use it when the bike is hibernating. Number 12. Letting the battery trickle all year. Everyone's heard the advice. Hook up a trickle charger for winter storage. And yeah, in theory, that's solid. But in reality, leaving your bike on a constant, unmonitored trickle charge for months is a perfect way to cook your battery from the inside out. Here's the deal. Most trickle chargers don't actually turn off. They just keep feeding a low voltage constantly. And if your battery's already topped off, that extra current doesn't disappear. It just slowly boils the electrolyte, dries out the AGM cells, and reduces the lifespan of your battery. In some cases, you'll go to start your bike in the spring and realize the battery looks fine, but won't hold a damn charge. The smarter move is to use a true battery maintainer, one that monitors voltage, cuts off automatically, and only cycles back on when necessary. These are smarter, safer, and way less likely to fry your battery while you're sipping cocoa in January. And if your bike's got a lithium battery, trickling is an even worse idea. Those require special chargers, and overcharging them can lead to swelling, damage, or even fire. Moral of the story, don't confuse trickle charging with smart charging. One helps your battery survive the off-season. The other slowly kills it while you think you're doing the right thing. Most riders kill their bikes slowly, one innocent mistake at a time. Not because they're reckless, but because no one ever told them. No one ever explained how a little thing like over-tightening bolts or skipping coolant changes can turn into a seized engine, a snapped chain, or a bike that just won't start on a perfect riding day. So, now you know. And you've got no excuse. If you've got your own horror stories, blown engines, warped rotors, cooked batteries, drop them in the comments and let everyone learn the hard way without having to live it. And if you're one of the few who's never made any of these mistakes, either you're lying or you should be teaching a masterclass. Hit that like button, subscribe, and remember, your bike doesn't ask for much. Just don't kill it slowly. ride smart, wrench smarter, and I'll see you in the next one.